Generations had passed since the death of Nuh. The descendants of 'Ad, a great-grandson of Nuh, had settled in the southern parts of the Arabian Peninsula. The descendants were divided into 13 clans called 'Ad, which were named after their common ancestor. God had blessed them with enormous size and strength. They built a magnificent city called Iram, the city of pillars. Using their incredible strength and advanced techniques, they carved massive pillars from the mountains, some as tall as the mountains themselves. These stone pillars were skillfully transported to Iram and placed in the ground as foundations for their lavish homes. Despite their significant progress in technology, the 'Ad civilization had hardly any religious values. Idol worship became more widespread. Unfit individuals assumed leadership roles, and injustice and immorality spread widely. For the few remaining believers, the only glimmer of hope was the savior promised by Nuh, who would emerge from his descendants and cleanse the world of evil once again. God determined that it was time to appoint his new prophet to warn and guide the people of Iram. For this role, he chose Hūd. Hūd was born into a respected family in Iram. He was highly esteemed and respected by his people. Hūd was a successful merchant by profession. Through his business travels, he earned a considerable fortune, further elevating his family's reputation. Most importantly, Hūd earned unshakable trust from his people due to his remarkable honesty and integrity in all his dealings. At the age of 40, Hūd commenced his prophetic mission by fearlessly saying to his people, "O my people, I am your trustworthy messenger. Worship God, as there is no God except him." It was the same message Adam, Idris, and Nuh had brought before him, and he hoped that their descendants would be moved by it. In response, the leaders of the society said, "If your Lord wanted to send a messenger, he would have sent angels." Hūd reminded them that they were the same excuses the people of Nuh said, so God destroyed them. The leaders said, "Have you come to make us worship God alone and abandon what our ancestors used to worship? If you are honest, then show us the punishment you warn us about." Hūd warned them that God's punishment would surely arrive and advised them not to worship false idols they and their ancestors had made. The leaders of 'Ad, known for their brutal ways, could not tolerate such opposition. Without hesitation, they unleashed their anger, brutally beating Hūd to the point of death. They issued a stern warning: "If you ever speak about this again, we will beat you so severely that today's beating will seem light in comparison." He remained unconscious for an entire day. When he woke up, he immediately turned to God in prayer and said, "My Lord, I did as you commanded, and look what they have done." Gabriel told Hūd, "Your Lord orders you to continue in your mission. He gives you his word that he will cast fear into their hearts so that they never dare to raise a hand on you again." As soon as Hūd recovered from the beating, he was on the streets calling people again. The leaders reminded him of their threat, but he spoke with such courage and determination that they were forced into silence. As a consequence of their foolish rejection of the truth, God decided to withhold rain from them, and for the first time, the people of Iram felt harsh consequences of drought. Hūd hoped that the drought would humble his people enough to remind them how much they depended on God for their sustenance. The majority of the people still did not believe. They thought because of their advanced technology, they were invincible. In their arrogance and pride, they declared, "Who is more powerful than us?" They would laugh and mock Prophet Hūd and say to him, "Your claims are all myths of the ancient people. We will never be punished." God decided it was time to destroy the arrogant disbelievers. He sent a message to Hūd revealing the fate of their people, and ordered him and his followers to quickly leave Iram before its destruction. As Hūd and the believers prepared to leave Iram, they saw a dangerous storm coming in the distance. Blind to the truth, the people of Iram, due to the prolonged drought, mistakenly believed that the storm signaled the arrival of rain. This brought them joy, as they had long awaited rainfall. Hūd said to them, "It is not something to be happy about. This is what you are asking for, a punishment from God." Hūd and his followers quickly fled Iram. For the next few days, God released a strong and destructive storm that would severely damage Iram. It was a tornado that came from the very belly of the earth. Never before had such a wind been released upon a people, and never again would it be released until the end of time. For this was the very wind God would use at the end of time to destroy the earth completely. He ordered the angel in charge of this wind to release only a fraction of it. On the day of judgment, it will be released in full force. The tornado destroyed everything by God's permission. Not a single living thing remained in Iram. In all this, God left us a sign to the believers that God always fulfills his promises. A sign to those who choose to reject God's guidance that his punishments are not empty threats, and a sign to all people that God has power over all things. Hūd and a small group of believers who followed him left Iram and journeyed north to the city of Bakka. The city was ruled by a man whose lineage traced back to 'Ad, making him their cousin. In Bakka, they spent their lives in freedom, worshipping God as they had never been able to do in Iram. Years later, when Hūd laid on his deathbed, he appointed his successor and foretold the coming of Salih.